Paranoia, paranoia, paranoia. I'm not paranoid. Who says I am? My paranoia keeps me out of prison. Just cause I'm paranoid doesn't mean I'm wrong. I might be paranoid, but I still know they're talking about me. Don't let them know you're paranoid. Paranoia and schizophrenia. Yeah, one of the same, two sides of the same coin. I have had many states of paranoia, from very mild, suspicions to full-out anxiety-ridden panic attacks. Now, of course, this is why you get medicated, and understandably so. And if medication works for you, by all means stay on it. But for me, it was beneficial, but it was not the solution, and it's not how I would choose to live my life. So how do you deal with paranoia without medication? First thing, try to get a healthy amount of sleep. 6 hours should definitely be your minimum goal. I know that's sometimes an impossible task, but that definitely helps. Once I was coming off medication and I was able to be aware of my paranoia creeping back in, I faced it in as little ways as possible, little tiny steps, proving to myself that nothing would happen. So whilst I was on medication, I bought myself a cheap laptop. As I was coming off medication, I could recognize my paranoia coming back. Wherever I noticed this, whether it be on Facebook or whether it be on internet dating, or whether it be on a particular piece of mail coming, or whether it be a bill or someone ringing the doorbell or a phone call. Whenever it was, I would notice and I would then approach it. For example, looking at the phone, realizing all of the paranoid thoughts, realizing how they're telling me not to answer the phone, not to reach out, not to communicate. And then I would just answer the phone and nothing bad would happen. Now I know it seems so small to some people, and I know it seems so huge to others to face this impossible task of getting over your paranoia. But little by little, I started switching my location services on my phone. And at the time I had a iPhone 4 that was given to me, and it would do lots of random stuff. It would play U2 without anything being open, and you couldn't the only thing you could do was switch off the phone, and this in my mind was some bug in the machine, that they were always listening to me, and then it would randomly play stuff. So I would talk into my phone and make up all sorts of shit that if someone was listening, something would happen, but nothing happened. Therefore, my paranoia is manufactured. I would go and meet people very briefly in a very controlled setting and be completely paranoid ridden, but realize nothing bad happened. Later on, I got a new phone after I'd been working for a while, bought it from an auction. I opened all options of assistance on the phone, all the location services, all of the access to every account, which I don't recommend anyone doing, but this was really an extreme exercise in facing paranoia, and my phone is telling me all the time where I'm going. It's giving me suggestions and asking me to give feedback on the shop that I just left, on the this that I just did, on the how was that, and it's like the whole time, and then the advertisements are like, if you type one word of something or talk about something in a message, it'll pop up in advertising, so this is really like, holy shit. But it's just a computer, it's just an algorithm, it's just nothing bad happens. I've switched it off now because, well, not completely off, but I've switched it a lot off now because I like my privacy. But for months I faced this, and every time it happened, it was like, oh my god, they're after me, they're onto me, they're this, they're that, they're blah blah blah, some bullshit imagined crap. And little by little I was able to get over it. Now I still get paranoia attacks. I still have major anxiety in society, and I still, can't help but when I go onto the tube of anxiety that, like, everyone's looking at me or whatever, nothing happens. Nothing comes of it. Nothing bad will come of your paranoia unless you give it the authority to overrule your life. Now, if someone had told me this before being on medication, I would have denied that completely. I would have said, you're totally full of shit. You don't understand me. You don't know what's going on. And I had people talking to me and I'd be like, yeah, I've always been paranoid, Yeah, this is totally normal. This is totally how it goes. And it wasn't until I started reflection, hindsight, blah, blah, blah. It's the same tools, but you can use them for many tasks. If you think about all the times that you've been paranoid and you actually count the amount of times that your paranoia was correct, and I guarantee you that it is very minimal. But the times that it was correct, they're the ones you remember. They're the ones that you've told in your mind that, this is where it was correct. Now really try and sit there, really reflect through your history and remember how many times you've actually been paranoid compared to how many correct times it's been affirmed in your mind. I guarantee you that it's going to be a much larger number of paranoid events than the amount of confirmed paranoid occurrences. This means that you've been wrong with your paranoia a lot more than you've been right, but you've only remembered the correct times. Now, here's the next interesting thing. When you realize that, come back, shit, when you hold those affirmed paranoia experiences in your thoughts, that someone was talking about you behind your back, that this bill was connected to that thing going on, that you thought someone was at the door and then someone knocked at the door, all these little occurrences that were confirmed in your mind. What came of that? What actually happened at that time? Did that thing actually affect your life? Or in the confirmation of that paranoia, did you then say, this is now affecting me, this is now confirmed, this is now real? It might be real, but it's still nothing. Man, I hope that made sense.
It's over. Aw.